Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. England, Croatia World Cup semifinal. Who do you guys got going to the final? Can England overcome a midfield of Modric and Rakitic? How are Croatia going to create chances from open play? And can the attack of Raheem Sterling and Harry Kane push England to the World Cup final? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to preview Croatia against England. England-Croatia World Cup semi-final. When we look at their roads to the semi-final, England have had a pretty comfortable path. Some say it's been too comfortable. This is their first big real test. We look at Croatia, twice have they had to go to penalty shootouts to get the job done against Denmark and Russia, but they did. What changes here? How are they going to go about it? Who is going to be the difference maker? When we break it all down, we got to start with Croatia. What system are they going to play? Is it going to be 4-2-3-1? Is it going to be 4-3-3? They went with 4-2-3-1 against Russia because they could get Kramaric a bit forward. He could do a defensive job on the deepest midfielder for Russia, but he adds another body into the box. So when Mandzukic is in there alone fighting against aerial duels against the defenders, Kramaric can add another threat. He is someone that they could use for an additional goal scoring source. They have struggled to score goals in open play. Kramaric does the job. He did score the goal against Russia. Both of them combined, actually, Mandzukic and Kramaric. But here against England, they may be a bit more conservative. Yes, they can use Kramaric, but the only way I could see him starting is if Mandzukic isn't fit to play and he would lead the line. So that means we're looking at a 4-3-3, Brozovic, Modric, Rakitic, then Rebic and Perisic in wide areas, Mandzukic up front. The problem for Croatia is, number one, they struggle to score goals from open play. How are they going to get the job done here? We know they're going to control the midfield. They have arguably the best midfields going into the tournament with their options. They've made it here this far because of the brilliance of Modric, who hasn't played to his best, but he's so good that he's able to control games, and Rakitic has helped as well. Will it be Rakitic and Brozovic a bit deeper? Will it be Rakitic and Modric just a bit wider, spreading the play? It doesn't really matter. What does matter is that they need to create chances. Perisic hasn't been good down the left-hand side. He swapped flanks with Rebic here and there, but he needs to be much better. He needs to get crosses into the box. He needs to provide quality service for Mandzukic, and if he's cutting in, he needs to score goals. Same with Rebic, often cutting in, does create chances, but he hasn't scored enough goals. He did score against Argentina, but he needs to do a bit more. Sometimes they both like to tuck in a bit narrow, which could be beneficial. We'll get to that in a second because that stems from Modric and Rakitic. Obviously, in midfield, what we could end up seeing is Henderson looking to press Brozovic, the wide players looking to step out and press Modric and Rakitic. What they can do, we've seen them do this specifically against Russia, Modric dropping off a bit wider to the right, Rakitic possibly dropping a bit deeper to split the back four, or if he doesn't do that, he could move out wide as well. That forces wider players towards them, which leaves Jordan Henderson, if he's not pressing, vulnerable between the lines. And what can happen there? Perisic could pick up the ball there, Rebic could pick up the ball there, and that is a great source for Croatia to go about things. But besides that, crosses into the box, obviously integral, getting the fullbacks forward, but there is a big risk of getting the fullbacks forward because if they do, we've seen Strinic get forward on a few occasions. Vrsaljko, the best right back, arguably the best right back in the tournament, probably won't be fit, so Čorluka will probably slide in. And if he does get forward as well, obviously what that does is it sends crosses into the box, and England, although they have looked good from a defensive aspect, when you're dealing with sustained pressure, it obviously could be an issue and could lead to some nervy moments. But with Croatia pushing a bit forward, what it could do is leave spaces in the channels for a counter-attacking side like England, who have been waiting for this opportunity to counterattack. So when you look at that, that's Croatia's problem. Obviously, how are they going to create chances from open play? Will they dominate the midfield zone? How do they get Perisic and Rakitic? How do they get Perisic and Rebic going? Because that's a big issue for them. The second issue for them is speed. The speed that they lack in defense. We know if Vrsaljko's out, Čorluka doesn't help that issue. Strinic has often been isolated at left back, What we saw in the Russian game was that Fernandes was often overlapping, breaking into that space, attacking him because Perisic didn't want to track back, and we can see Kieran Trippier do the same thing, and that will be a big issue for this side if that is the case, because if he gets forward, he's been one of England's main sources of creativity. If he could deliver crosses into the box, Croatia will encounter some issues. But when we look at England, or when we get to Croatia as well, they can press from the front, but that also does leave issues for them at the back because they don't want to deal with Kane and Sterling. And we'll get to that right now. Why is it such an issue for them? Why do they have to pack the midfield? Because when you look at it, this England mid side, they struggle to really create chances as well. They haven't looked good in possession, making some mistakes as they try to build out the back. This is the game that they want. They can finally sit a bit deeper, look to break on the counterattack, invite pressure forward, and if they could sustain that pressure, then break on the counterattack, they could be a problem. We've seen Kane and Sterling, who will look to drop in behind Brozovic and pick up the ball, combine well. They combine well with intricate passes. If Kane pulls one defender out, you'll know Sterling will break forward and vice versa. Both of them have looked good with their back to goal, spreading play into wide areas. And what we've seen throughout this tournament has been a common theme. Ali, Lingard breaking into that space. And if they could do that, then you're going to have some issues. It's just the speed factor, the counterattack. We know what this side could do on the counterattack. We saw Raheem Sterling, when sides push just a bit higher against Sweden, break into space and behind Grankvist and Lindelof. Why can't he do that against Vida and Lovren? That's a big issue for them. Obviously with England, it's execution, execution, execution. If they could get Lingard and Ali breaking into the space, if they could get up the field and provide passes into Kane in behind, because he can do that, or into the channel, or get Sterling to break into the channel, that will be pivotal for them. And just the fact that Perisic needs to do a job here, because like I said, if Trippier could get forward, that's another issue, because with Trippier getting forward, it's not only Kane you have to deal with getting to the box, it's Ali's late runs to the far post that can be an issue for this Croatian side. The best option for them is to obviously have their defensive line sit a bit deeper when they don't have the ball and force England to break them down. But with midfielders like Modric and Rakitic, they're likely going to dominate the tempo of the game, and it's going to be up to them to be able to defend well in transition and get numbers back quickly, because this England side has the pace to really cause them a nightmare. Then we look to set pieces. Croatia haven't defended them well. We've seen what Maguire and Stones could do in the air. We know what Kane could do in the penalty box, and that is another issue for Croatia that they'll have to deal with. When you look at the game as a whole, with England's threat on the counterattack, with the fact that Croatia played so many minutes, more minutes than England in terms of mileage, when you look at the fact that Croatia struggled to find a legitimate goal-scoring threat in open play, this has all the tools of an England win if they can execute in the final third. But this game is crazy and anything can happen. So let us know what you guys think. Can England make it to the World Cup final? Will Modric and Rakitic push Croatia to the final? Who do you think is going to win? Meet us in the comments below. Don't forget, I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.